Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome one and all to a Sunday evening edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobler, of course.
Hello.
First order of business tonight. It's an obvious one, is it not? That's the first of two. We have 983 on YouTube and Twitter, and a strong 799 to start things out over on Rumble. Beautiful crowd in here tonight. Thank you guys all very much for being here. For those cool kids who are signed up at Patreon, Substack, or Locals, this is your second time seeing us today. We had a great supporter stream earlier in the afternoon. This is the second part of a day-night doubleheader. Not only that, but we have a Q&A after the show tonight that's exclusively on Rumble. So everybody tune in after the show on Rumble. We are actually doing the final two segments of tonight's program on Rumble. So if you go to dodissidents.com/Rumble, that takes us to this live stream. That's a redirect link that our friend and producer Jake made for us. Thank you, Jake, for that. That takes you to the Rumble live stream. So we'll be doing 4 or 5 segments here on the YouTube side, and then we will be finishing the show and doing the Q&A on the Rumble side tonight. So we have a full evening of programming here, and we are also back on the Jimmy Dore Show tomorrow for the last time in a while. This is the end of Russ's fourth stint now as guest host, so that's going to be tomorrow at 6
like
o'clock.
the Steve Martin of the Jimmy Dore Show.
Yes, yeah, exactly right. And then since Russ is flying out on Tuesday, the show at Tuesday is going to be at noon. And then on Thursday, I had a prior commitment from way before we switched, so we're going to figure out a time for Thursday's show. It will not be in the early morning. We'll figure out a time. What we're going to start doing, we're going to try, knock on wood, to start just keeping the schedule as is. Now that, Russ will be back at one place and my calendar is pretty clear. I don't really have anything until my new baby comes. Haha. But we are going to send out a newsletter blast on our Substack every Monday to let you know the streaming schedule that week. It'll hopefully be pretty much the same every single week. But if you sign up to our Substack, dodissidents.substack.com, you can sign up for free. That puts you on our newsletter. On Monday, you'll get the streaming schedule for the week. We go live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. So we'll put that out every Monday so that you guys all know when and where to find us. But
It is going to be pretty cool to be in one fucking place for more than 3 days.
That's true. Russell's been not just New York to L.A. He's been going all over. New Orleans, London, all over the place.
I've been everywhere, man.
Yes.
I've been everywhere.
Indeed. Alrighty, folks. Well, we got a lot to get to tonight. Our friend and producer Jake is in the house, so we are able to take Rumble rants. Round of applause for Jake in the chat. Please and thank you. But we do have a lot to get to, so let's waste no time. The White House Correspondent's dinner was last night.
What a banger.
Snubbed again. Russell has his press pass now. Still nothing.
No,
nothing.
Not even a postcard. Not even a wish you were here.
Not even a wish you were here. Exactly. Exactly. You think we'd be on the backup list if somebody didn't show up? No, not at all.
Well, not that any of these mercenary scumbags didn't show up in spite of the pleas of Gaza journalists that they not show up. Did anyone actually not show up? Like, did a single journalist take them up on that?
Yeah, did anyone boycott this event? Chants of shame on you greet guests at White House Correspondents' dinner, shadowed by war in Gaza. The AP reports the war in Gaza spurred large protests outside a glitzy roast with President Joe Biden, journalists, politicians, and celebrities Saturday, but went all but unmentioned by participants inside, with Biden instead using the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner to make both jokes and grim warnings about Republican rival Donald Trump's fight to reclaim the U.S. presidency. Trump boycotted this event, and there was a lot of fretting. Not this event, meaning last night, but when he was in office, he didn't go to these. And there's been a lot of fretting about this. Well, you see how he just sticks his thumb in the eye of Democratic norms by not attending the White House Correspondents' Dinner. No, that's actually a tribute to Democratic norms. Like, the norm in a healthy democracy is for the press and the president to have a hostile relationship. That's actually a healthy Democratic norm. This is the opposite. This incestuous, I pat my back, you pat yours, that's not a healthy relationship between the government and the press.
Of course not.
So you see how completely upside down it is.
If the relationship were actually adversarial the rest of the year, having this topsy-turvy day, yeah, fine. But it isn't.
Right.
It isn't. They're all buddies. If you watch the White House Correspondents' Dinner, that's a lot of the humor, how chummy we all are.
Right.
How much we all like each other. We're all it's like a high school dance. It has the vibe of a high school dance. You're celebrating these popular kids in school.
Exactly. And how do you get invited? You stay in good standing, right? Otherwise, you don't get invited.
Yep.
An evening normally devoted to presidents, journalists, and comedians taking outrageous pokes at political scandals and each other often seem this year to illustrate the difficulty of putting aside the coming presidential election and the troubles in the Middle East and elsewhere. To get inside Saturday's dinner, some guests had to hurry through hundreds of protesters outraged over the mounting humanitarian disaster for Palestinian civilians in Gaza. They condemned Biden for his support of Israel's military campaign and Western news outlets for what they said was undercoverage and misrepresentation of the conflict. Shame on you, protesters draped in the traditional Palestinian keffiyeh cloth shouted, running after men in tuxedos and suits and women in long dresses holding clutch purses as guests hurried inside for the dinner. Western media, we see you and all the horrors that you hide, crowds chanted at one point. Other protesters lay sprawled motionless on the pavement next to mock-ups of flak vests with press insignia representing the over 100 journalists who have been killed in Gaza over the past almost 7 months now. Ralliers cried, "Free, free Palestine." They cheered at one point someone inside the Washington Hilton, where the dinner had been held for decades, unfurled a Palestinian flag from a top-floor hotel window. We'll show you guys this in a minute. Protest organizers said they aimed to bring attention to the high numbers of Palestinian and other Arab journalists killed by Israel's military since the war began in October. More than 24 journalists in Gaza wrote a letter last week calling on their colleagues in Washington to boycott the dinner altogether. The toll exacted on us for merely fulfilling our journalistic duties is staggering, the letter said. We are subjected to detentions, interrogations, and torture by the Israeli military, all for the crime of journalistic integrity. One organizer complained that the White House Correspondents Association, which represents the hundreds of journalists who cover the president, largely has been silent since the first weeks of the war about the killings of Palestinian journalists. White House Correspondents Association did not respond to a request for comment, so here are some tweets here. Shame on you. Shame on you. Wild scene outside of White House Correspondents' Dinner as Free Palestine protesters hold U.S. corporate media complicit in genocide. Let's take a look at this video here. So there are the people playing dead there. take a look back to our slideshow here. Next tweet here. Breaking, massive Palestinian solidarity demonstration gathers at the entrance of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, confronting high-profile guests as they arrive. There's the Palestinian flag unfurled from one of the rooms of the hotel. The dinner itself is, I guess, held in the ballroom or conference room of the hotel. So there's the Palestinian flag that was mentioned. And then here is a close-up of the journalists in good standing making their way through the crowd of protesters.
Look at these fucking swine. They don't care. They don't care.
No, they got an invite to the ball.
They don't care.
They got the invite to the ball. That's all they care about. That and that alone. Now, that article mentioned that Gaza journalists wrote a letter.
It is said that the people are revolting.
Who said it? They stink on ice.
This is a Medium post signed by many different journalists in Gaza. Boycott the White House Correspondents' Dinner and stand with your colleagues in Gaza. We're not going to read the whole thing. We'll read the last part of it, which I think is probably the best, although this whole thing is worth reading. It's on Medium. It's all over social media if you want to read it. The White House Correspondents' Dinner is an embodiment of media manipulation, trading journalistic ethics for access. Wow. You know, it's funny because I thought Gaza is not a free society. I thought you go to Gaza and you say the wrong thing and they throw you off the roof. Why then do the Gaza
play with
journalists...
your head like a soccer ball.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So if this is such a backwards civilization, why is it that the Gaza journalists, in one sentence there, prove they have a better understanding of the function of a free press than the douchebags walking into the ballroom? Like, they seem to understand. It's an embodiment of media manipulation, trading ethics for access. It's access journalism and media manipulation. Why do the people from the so-called third world, the so-called backwards society of Gaza, they understand that? They seem to understand our Constitution better than those journalists in line do. Because if you believe in a free press, you believe that a healthy democratic society requires accountability for elected officials. Who is best equipped to hold them accountable? The press. So rather than get dressed up and dolled up and go wine and dine them and, you know, make chummy jokes about each other all night. Like I said, it'd be one thing if you did that and the rest of the year you went at them. And this was like ceremony. But the way a lot of these journalists conduct themselves all year.
Topsy-turvy ritual.
Right, exactly. But the way these journalists conduct themselves all year, it's as if they're auditioning for a spot. As if they're making sure they don't lose their invitation to this thing, right?
Right.
For journalists to
although very much now... this occupies the place on Washington's social calendar in a lot of respects that the Academy Awards do in Hollywood.
Oh, exactly.
And there's definitely a parallel in how both of them have lost their luster for the public. Because there was a time when people liked this ritual. They thought it was adorable, kind of, right? Oh, look at them poking fun at Scalia. And, it was this very West Wing ideal, the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The different, you're conservative and I'm liberal, but we can joke around and have a good time. And the public, a certain portion of the public, much more than now, ate it up. This mix of celebrities and politicians and journalism and media figures. It was very much like a royal event. It was all at its height before Michelle Wolf took it down, which we'll get into. It really became almost the pinnacle social event of the entire culture. You'd have Harvey Weinstein in Happier Times, right? You had this representation of Hollywood. You'd have famous actors would go there, like when it really hit its peak. And now I think most people are disgusted by it. Just like the Academy Awards. I mean, most people don't take that seriously in the way they once did and find it distasteful in a way they never did before.
Yeah, no, indeed. For journalists to fraternize at an event with President Biden and Vice President Harris would be to normalize, sanitize, and whitewash the administration's role in genocide. The press plays an integral role in standing up against injustice by illuminating the truth and holding power to account. Journalists in Gaza cannot continue to bear the burden of doing so alone. Yes, as journalists reporting from the belly of the beast, you have a unique responsibility to speak truth to power and uphold journalistic integrity. It is unacceptable to stay silent out of fear or professional concern while journalists in Gaza continue to be detained, tortured, and killed for doing our jobs. We have witnessed how journalists across the U.S. have demanded justice for fellow journalists like Jamal Khashoggi, Shireen Abu Akleh, and Evan Gershkovich. It is past time journalists take action for journalists in Gaza. We call on all journalists of conscience to stand with us and uplift our call to boycott the White House Correspondents' dinner. You can learn the name and stories of some of the Palestinian journalists killed through the Committee to Protect Journalists. Here are the signatories to the letter. More also signed on that were not listed on Medium for some reason. Maybe they didn't want their names printed on the internet. But this is a list of endorsees of the letter itself. And as Russell pointed out earlier, I don't know of one person who actually heeded that call and boycotted. Maybe some did that we don't know about, but they certainly didn't make a public showing of it. And you would think if they were going to boycott it, they would make a public showing of it, since that would kind of be the point.
Right. I think nobody who would get invited to this would give a shit about Gazans being slaughtered. If you don't already have your mind right, you're not getting an invitation to that gig.
Yeah, like how do you get dolled up and go there and sit there and listen to jokes from the president who's funding a genocide? Like how do you like anybody who's capable of like setting that aside and having a fun evening? They're not going to be the kind of person who would boycott if they got an invitation, right?
Well, it's very much a decadent elite partying. And at one time, I think that's really what changed. It's the same thing that changed with the Academy Awards. We used to see them as our elites. And now we see them as a removed and remote elite class, completely not only disconnected from the public, but completely at odds with the public needs, will, and well-being.
Exactly. So we know there were protests outside the White House Correspondents' dinner, but inside, Joe Biden was bringing the house down, brought a tear to the eye of all of these well-dressed, well-paid, dolled-up journalists and their spouses and their friends or whoever their plus ones were. Here's Joe Biden's final thoughts of the night, an ode to the free press. As over 100 journalists have been killed in Gaza, as Julian Assange's case hangs in limbo, as the extradition date nears, here he is acting like he reveres the journalism profession. Very powerful words from Joe Biden here.
That's why I want to close the night with my genuine thanks to the free press. There are some who call you the enemy of the people. That's wrong and it's dangerous. You literally risk your lives doing your job. You do.
What are they clapping for? Themselves? What risks do they? First of all, the White House press corps, they go and they ask questions to, Karine Jean-Pierre, So yeah, some journalists risk their lives. Who here risks what? No one in here risks their lives any more than the Gaza journalists who asked these people to boycott the event in solidarity. No one in that room risked anything compared to what Julian Assange risked and is now paying. I don't want to say with his life. I don't want to go there. I don't want to put that thought into the universe, but it's crossed everyone's mind. He's currently being tortured. And so what solidarity with who? Solidarity with yourselves? Yes. Solidarity with yourselves. Like I said, just a giant ego stroke.
And anybody who's in that room, if they do go to war zones, and there are very few, if any, there who actually do that kind of journalism, they have top-notch security teams taking care of them. They're not going in like the lone photographer catching photos, much less what these Gaza journalists are doing, just being out there with a bulletproof vest, and that's it.
Yeah, all they have is a helmet that says press on it.
From a bomb.
Yeah, exactly. All they have is a helmet that says press on it. And the planes dropping the bombs, they don't see that, right?
Covering everything from natural disasters to pandemics to wars and so much more. And some of your colleagues have given their lives, and many have suffered grievous injuries. Other reporters have lost their freedom. Journalism is clearly not a crime, not here, not there, not anywhere in the world.
What the fuck are you talking about?
You are literally prosecuting Julian Assange.
Yes.
As we speak.
Yeah. It's not a crime, not here, not anywhere in the world. Yeah. As you are literally presiding over a case that could end up torturing a man to death. Unbelievable.
Well, and as you're funding a criminal apartheid regime that is notorious for assassinating journalists.
Yes. Yes. They killed Shireen Abu Akleh, who, by the way, was a Palestinian American. She's an American citizen. She was gunned down. Any words about her? I don't know. I didn't watch it. I will admit that. I will admit to having done, limited research for this, since I did not watch 4 hours or whatever the fuck it was of the White House Correspondent Center. But I'd be very surprised if any serious time was spent on her.
I think you're good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's safe to assume, as we say.
And Putin should release Evan and also immediately. Just we're doing everything we can.
Pause.
We're doing everything we can to bring home journalists, fellow journalists, Austin, and all Americans like Paul Whelan, who wrongfully detained all around the world. And I give you my orders to Biden. We're not going to give up until we get them home. All of them. All of them.
There you have it, everybody. Joe Biden, unlike some who call you the enemy of the people, I believe in journalism. Yeah. Yeah. People believe that because the people in the room don't do their jobs. If people in that room did their jobs, nobody would take you seriously when you said that. But then they wouldn't get invited. We wouldn't have this event. See how it's all a big cycle? See?
Yeah.
Chicken and the egg, right? You don't know where it starts. That's why the Gaza journalist said this is an unhealthy thing to do, right? It's unhealthy to have the press and the government fraternize in this way because it becomes a big club. You said, Russell, I'd never heard this, but you've brought this up several times. The Morning Joe host, Joe and Mika, they host like a weekly jogging club in D.C.
No,
they
daily.
got some politicians.
No, daily.
Daily. Wow.
Yeah, no. During the work week, they lead the jogging.
I was wondering how that guy looks so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He jogs every day. Oh, when? They do the show at 6 a.m. I guess after the show, they go for a jog.
Well, no, in the morning.
Before the show? The show's at 6 a.m.?
That's from what I remember, yes. This was
in a weekend thing.
This was in This Town by Mark Begovich. And I seem to recall that he's talking about the morning. So I guess like 4 a.m. or something. They're getting up and going out there.
They're meeting at 4 a.m. There's something going on besides jogging. That's all I got to say.
But for anyone who doesn't remember the history, okay, so going back to the halcyon days I was speaking of, where they could get away with it. If you look back now, it was always deeply unhealthy. It's just that they got away with it. The function of the White House dinner was largely to normalize the perversion of democracy that is the relationship between our journalists and Washington and Hollywood. It was really to sanctify that relationship and normalize it in the eyes of the public, and to show you how far gone that had been before the wave broke and it started to go back. Some of you may remember George Bush during the height of the Iraq War joking to peals of laughter about their failure to find weapons of mass destruction.
Weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere. Nope, no weapons over there. Maybe under here.
Yep. Kill 500,000 Iraqis, soldiers dead, families destroyed, people maimed for life. Funny. It's funny shit. So Michelle Wolf came along and said the soft part out loud, and that's why you will never again see any comedian get that gig who has anything interesting to say whatsoever. Your Gallagher is going to be the next host at the Correspondent's dinner, because Michelle Wolf, God bless her, she called them out to their faces in a way that even Colbert, before he got his mind right, did not do.
And this was what, 2017, 2018, something like that? This was one of the ones that Trump skipped, right? This was during Trump's tenure?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this was the first year of
2017,
Trump, wasn't it?
Okay.
Yeah,
I think so. Yep.
You guys are obsessed with Trump. Did you used to date him? Because you pretend like you hate him, but I think you love him. I think what no one in this room wants to admit is that Trump has helped all of you. He couldn't sell steaks or vodka or water or college or ties or Eric. But he has helped you. He's helped you sell your papers and your books and your TV. You helped create this monster, and now you're profiting off of him. And if you're gonna profit off of Trump, you should at least give him some money, because he doesn't have any. Trump is so broke, he grants pussies because he thinks there might be loose change in them. All right, like an immigrant who was brought here by his parents and didn't do anything wrong. I gotta get the fuck out of here.
It's good. Those are good jokes.
And after that, the next year, they didn't even have a comedian. I think they had a historian. And then they decided. And if you remember, Morning Joe freaked the fuck out the next day, attacking her and how inappropriate this was. Mika, she was bleeding from her eyes, from wherever. Mika lost her fucking mind. And because they couldn't really attack that directly, although they did, as I recall, they tried to call her sexist for making fun of Sarah Huckabee Sanders, somebody who the day before this they wouldn't have fucking pissed on if she was on fire. All of a sudden they got offended that she made a joke about her smoky eye makeup. That was how they tried to get back at her for saying something like this. But you will never again see a comedian who's, any more interesting than like Pat Boone. I mean, it's just going to be that forever.
Yeah, indeed. Kenman, thanks for the $6.99. It's been a tough year for humanity. Not only did the world lose Aaron Bushnell, it kept Scott Galloway. Yes, goodness, true.
That fucking piece of shit. And he's in New York, man. I hope I run into him eventually.
Pickle the Pirate, thanks for the $5. Last time I tried to send a super chat about Israel, YouTube refunded me and deleted the chat. Have a good show, fellas. Thank you, Pickle the Pirate.
Wow.
Tough times around here. Do you think Jackson Hinkle is a grifter, asked Kenman. Well, if he is, he has a difficult way of going about it, because I believe he's been deplatformed from almost every social media outlet and debanked by pay. I think he's banned on PayPal and all this shit, so if he's grifting, that's an interesting way to go about it. That's all I can say. I don't know him. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna Keaton, you keep going. I'm gonna pull something up for people on this level.
On what level?
I'm gonna show people something about grifting.
Right. It has been a rough day. Now I am watching you guys and already feeling good. Thank you both. Thank you, Yassine. Appreciate that very much. Good people watching the contents of an open sewer, says the amazing Blumpkin. Thank you. Killer Tomato. I like that screen name. I like the avatar there. Nice Julian Assange avatar. Dissident rapper Tumaj Salehi is given a death sentence for his nonviolent involvement in widespread protests that swept Iran in 2022. But if it were Eminem, what do you think? Journalists aren't safe. Yeah, I have to look into that story. I did see that come across the wire. We will probably cover that this week at some point.
All right, I'm ready. Just read that one.
All right. Correspondent's dinner is the epitome of cynical. Yes. And let me get this one before we go. Let Gaza eat cake. Biden and Trump. Thank you.
Okay. You want to see grifting? You want to see how you grift if you have half a freaking brain? I'll show you how you grift. This is Pod Save America at the Barclays Center in June. Look at the fucking prices on these tickets. The cheapest one, $86.50.
That's the Paramount, not the Barclays, the Paramount. That's still a big
this
theater,
is
though.
the Paramount. I thought they were doing the Barclays Center. 108.50. Look at this. And it goes 135, 183. I want to meet the person who's going to pay $261.35 to see those fucking schmucks.
Sure.
Why would you pay to see that? But people will. Look, it's an arena. They're going to see them. Okay. All right. I am planning on going outside to interview people that day. I have it up marked on my calendar to see who are these people who would pay this. But you want to talk about the grift, is Jackson Hinkle grifting? I always say that, man. Going counter to the establishment, that is not the way to grift. The biggest grift is to ride on the establishment's back. They got all the money. They got all the power. You're never going to get kicked off YouTube for that. And those libs have money, man. And on the other side, those establishment conservatives have money. That's the way to grift. What Jackson's doing, I mean, you could get shut down on any given day. That's not to say whether you agree or don't agree with what he says. Honestly, I see him post a lot of stuff I do agree with. But I don't spend all my time thinking about what Jackson Hinkle is posting or doing. Like I don't want to sign off on everything he's doing because I don't know everything that he's doing. But all I'm saying is when people point at the outsiders and say you're grifting, you don't understand how this all works if you think that's the grift. Nobody that actually had enough talent for you to have heard of them is stupid. None of us do not know that that's the way to make money. If you're doing this, there's a principle involved.
Bloated Scrotum, thanks for the $1. Hope Russ isn't getting too much in and out action in L.A. After last Jimmy Dore, you guys are becoming the Derek and Clive of the left. Keep it up. There's a music duo, right? Derek and Clive. $1 Million Trooper. I've been trying to convert my dad, hopeless shitley, by exposing him to due dissidents in the Jimmy Dore show. He asked what Keaton's real job was, as he thought you might be a college professor. Yeah, no. No, I'm not. No, I'm a college dropout. No,
don't wish that on Keaton.
I was a delivery driver until we started doing this, and this is now my real job. This is now our full-time gig. So that's thanks to you guys. So you can tell him that. You could say this is his real job. So tune in. Tune in. Give us that. Sweet,
it is a real job, Mom. It is a real job.
Give us that
I'm gonna
sweet
make it.
1/3 of a cent's worth of ad revenue when you watch one of our videos, because this is our real job.
Yo, buddy down there. The studio's closed right now. You can come back later.
All right. Okay. Nobody in that room has ever risked their life for a principle, ever, says the amazing Blumpkin. Yes, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Okay. Let's go to segment number 2 of the night. Oh, yeah. This is a fun one. This is a funny one. You know, we've been picking on Elon Musk a little bit, you know, and I know some people didn't like some of the Cybertruck comments that we made, although most of you did. It was all in good fun. But Elon is on a bit of a roll.
He really is. He really is.
Here's something kind of suspicious. Mandela, grandson of Nelson Mandela, apparently had his Twitter account suspended.
Oh, hang on. I thought Elon was a champion of free speech and shit.
Free speech?
I thought Elon was what? Are you telling me a guy from a fucking apartheid country of South Africa banned Nelson Mandela's grandson?
Yeah.
Wow. You mean he's not this free speech champion for the people? Wow. Holy shit.
Free speech platform X suspends the account of the grandson of Nelson Mandela. His crime, trying to deliver food to the starving people in Gaza. Just unbelievable. I couldn't help but observe the irony. Not a great look for an apartheid baby to deactivate Nelson Mandela's grandson. Yeah.
Yes,
the optics on that, not good, believe me, not good.
Keaton nails it as always.
This is Mandela. Nelson Mandela's grandson. He was just suspended by Elon Musk because he's on the Freedom Flotilla on their way to break the Zionist-Israeli apartheid blockade in Gaza. Now, the Freedom Flotilla, we were first introduced to that when our friend Matthew Ho was on the show about a week and a half ago. He is going and working with this team to deliver humanitarian aid. And so that's when we first learned about this. I didn't know that Mandela was involved, but here he is talking about the project.
We are all excited here in Turkey with the Freedom Flotilla being officially announced that we will set sail on the 26th of April to bring the much needed humanitarian aid to the Palestinians in Gaza. We have finally gotten through to set sail, and we are looking forward to breaking the siege and breaking the blockade on Gaza and ensuring that Palestinians and civil society in particular receives this humanitarian aid. We want to thank all those that have been a part of organizing and supporting the Freedom Flotilla, and we are certain that it will be a success.
That was such anti-Semitism. It's a good thing he blocked him from the platform. That was really anti. You know, as a Jew, I felt
feel
threatened by
unsafe.
that. Yeah, I
feel unsafe.
Exactly. I feel safer knowing he's not on the platform because that was really horribly anti-Semitic right there. So here you got this guy's going to deliver aid to Gaza.
They
he banned
didn't
from the
call
platform.
him Nelson Mad Dog Mandela for nothing.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, just unbelievable. And that's not everything. That's not everything. Elon also this week, because you may have wondered where he's been on certain things. And you know what? Before we put this up, I just want to give a little short sort of lead into this. You notice Elon Musk's free speech advocacy has been on behalf of like one group of people, which is like lonely, angry, aggrieved white people who are under attack from the woke mob. Like that is the extent to his free speech advocacy. Yep. And the reason that works as well as it does is because like any good hustle, it's based on a kernel of truth. We have criticized the excesses of woke discourse, critical theories as they're currently taught. We can debate about the origins of critical race theory and things like that. But yes, there has been a very divisive push to set a lot of white people, especially white young men, back on their heels, make them feel like they're unwelcome in certain spaces. Yep. And that makes it very easy for a guy like Elon Musk to say the biggest problem in the world, not a genocide in Gaza, no, it's the woke mind virus. And I am a free speech advocate pushing back against that, except that's the only thing he pushes against. Has this motherfucker said a word about Julian Assange these past 6 months as this extradition hearing has happened? Not a word about Shireen Abu Akleh gunned down in the West Bank? Has he said a word about the situation in Gaza? Oh, yes, he has. In fact, he's amplified this man's speech. Anti-Semitism on campuses in the United States is reminiscent of what happened in German universities in the 30s. The world cannot idly stand by. This was Netanyahu's public statement on the campus protest, which we covered in the last show, calling for what? A crackdown on campus speech, with the repost from the one and only Elon Musk. I noticed you got into a little bit of a tussle with some people online, Russell, because they're like, well, he has the right to post that. Yet that's not the point. The point is he is amplifying a call for censorship.
On
that
Americans.
Is what this is.
On Americans.
Yes.
Listen, man, there is no sadder species of cuck than an Elon cuck. Oh, my God, man. Oh, my God. What a bunch of cuck soy boy motherfuckers. Fucking bowing down to this fucking billionaire who wouldn't let them shine his fucking shoes. Because, as you say, he's like the god king of the incels.
Right.
Because he feeds their feelings of loneliness, of inadequacy, which we have spoken out about those social movements. We are not in favor of them. But Elon Musk doesn't give a fuck about you, and he certainly doesn't give a fuck about speech. As Keaton pointed out, he cares about this very narrow sliver of speech that affects straight white men.
He wants to corner the market of online, angry, lonely white men. Right. Why would he want to corner that market? Because he owns Twitter. and those are the ones who tweet most incessantly and most obsessively. Right. So you say you're a free speech advocate. Really, your free speech advocacy is basically a ruse. You're basically just appealing to this subset of people who feel like their problems are because the country has turned on them, right? This used to be a great country for white people, and now it's a terrible country for white people, right? And people who are really angry about that and blame all of their problems on this perceived slight, they are the Elon cult, which is ironic because the Elon cult used to be the libs, and now the libs turned on him. They're not buying his cars anymore, and so now Elon is tweeting shit like this.
right. And there's another thing. People will be like, he's saving the planet. Yeah. He's trying. Look at what he tweets. He doesn't even support the fight against climate change.
So now being against climate change makes you a communist? The guy sells electric cars. His whole raison d'etre in the public eye before he bought the social media platform was he sold electric cars. Wasn't he the green energy guy?
Listen,
wasn't that the core pitch of Tesla? Is that these are green vehicles, right? But now you make the pitch to he had to pivot because he bought this company for $44 billion that wasn't worth anywhere near $44 billion. And the people who use it most obsessively are the people who think that the woke mind virus is the greatest threat to the world. And so now he's got to cater to them to the point where now he's undermining his other company with tweets like this. Yeah. What a guy. Quite amazing.
Yeah. He tried to get out of that deal. And they were going to sue because they were like, no, you made the offer, motherfucker. Now, okay, we accept.
Yeah, no, the board had a fiduciary responsibility to get that money.
Of course, he was the dog that caught the car.
Right.
He was talking a bunch of shit, and then they were like, no, you're not backing out. He realized too late what he got himself into. Nah, listen, man, I mean, this is very related to the minimum wage segments we did, and it's very much the same people. There is a population of peasants out there, or they think they're peasants. They've been brainwashed to think in terms of, or serfs. Some of our medievalists have corrected me on that really what you're talking about are serfs. They're bending their heads to the local lord who all of their daily bread comes from, and they hate to see a serf become a peasant. Right? They don't want to see anybody get a better wage. They don't want to see anybody get it. Elon he's being sued right now because he wants compensation for $55 billion fucking dollars. There's all case going on now. That's okay. But fucking fast food workers get $20. These people can't fucking jack off at night over it. They're so worried about these fast food workers getting $20. Meanwhile, they're fucking jamming Elon's cock down their fucking throat, and then they want to call other people cocks, soy boys. If that's not a fucking cuck and a soy boy, what is? What is? You fucking bow down to a billionaire and you get mad at workers for getting a raise. If that's not a cuck, what the fuck is a cuck? You are a cuck. If you think like that, you are a fucking cuck.
Yeah, indeed. Who remembers the Bomb Bomb Bomberan song to Bomberan or whatever it was called? Dig that one up. John McCain. Oh yeah, I remember that.
That was McCain.
Yeah. That was in the last days of the 2008 campaign, I think. I'm pretty sure that's when he went into that. Folks, if you like what we do here and you want to help us do it more, please consider becoming a member at patreon.com/do dissidents. Perks of signing up at either Patreon.
Look, we got it. Couple of the cucks over here are going to need a fucking some Viagra to get it up tonight now. This really fucking upset. Scumbag douchebag.
If you sign up at Patreon, Locals, or Substack, you can sign up as a paid subscriber on any of those platforms for as little as $5 a month. You get your name up in lights on the scroll here. You get call-in access to our post-show Q&As every Sunday night. Notice today's Sunday, so we're going to do a post-show Q&A over on Rumble in just a little while. And you also get 2 bonus streams per month, 2 supporter-exclusive interactive live streams. We had our second one of April this afternoon, so this is our second show of the day. So to unlock all of that bonus content, you can go to patreon.com/do dissidents, dodissidents.substack.com, or dodissidents.locals.com. Thank you very much for signing up. You guys are the backbone of the show. And not only do you get bonus streams. But we are going to be live in New York City on June 9th. And so make sure that you get your tickets if you would like to come and see us there. We have very few seats left. There are 2 links for tickets, DoDissidents.com/day show. I believe we have 9 left for the day show. DoDissidents.com/night show. We have 3 left for the night show. So we have a combined 12 tickets left for those 2 shows. So if you want to come see us, we're going to have a great time. We got Jose Vega there. We got Tusker there. We have Jesse Jett from Indie News Network flying in from Michigan to play some tunes for you guys to open up each show. It's going to be a really great time. We hope you can make it. DoDissidents.com/day show.
What happened? I thought His Highness is on the scroll now.
DoDissidents.com/night show. Yeah, I gave Jake the updated list. It's in alphabetical order. So look for your name accordingly there. But we hope that you guys get those tickets if you want them. We are almost out, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And only $25. PodSave wants $100, $200, right? You get the whole. What does PodSave want? $100 a ticket, $200 a ticket on the resale market, probably 3-4 times that.
I listen, man. We are going to go and find out who's paying this to see that. Who is paying this to see that? These make the people who go to see Nickelback look like paragons of taste.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. The Amazing Blumpkin. They have a helmet. All right, free Assange. Those WMDs got to be somewhere. A nice play on words, long story short. Thank you for the donation. Don't forget Gonzalo Lira. That was Ukraine, which means United States ordered it. Yep, Gonzalo Lira, apprehended at the border, died. God, I'm pissed off, says the Amazing Blumpkin. It's all right. Breathe easy. I like your avatar. Come up with one of those dude mantras from the movie. All right. Let's go here. Sparky. I went to school in 1981. Students could work their way through a state university without a loan. Students were smart, creative, and fun. Making school an expectation along with loans soon messed that up. Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. Once you make it an expectation, it becomes a status pursuit more than a more organic pursuit. I think there's a lot of truth to that. Good point, Sparky. It's a Sarah P., Jeff Weaver clapping along with Michelle Toole. There was a comedian the next year. There was a comedian? I thought they did away with the comedian the following year. But yeah, no, Jeff Weaver was one of the only people clapping in that room. Everybody else was silent.
There a comedian the next year? I thought they took 1 year off where they got like a historian. And then they brought back comedians, but comedians with all the flavor of mayonnaise.
Well, they brought back Trevor Noah that time. Right.
Like they just get these establishment corporate comedians ever since then. They will not chance anybody who might say anything interesting.
Right. All right, folks. I got to give you a little bit of a warning. This story is a little effed up, and I have to say effed up because this is the first 15 seconds of the clip. But you'll see what I mean here. So, I don't know whether to laugh or cry at this. If you have a really dark and morbid sense of humor, as I do and as Russ does, you might find this darkly comical, I suppose, but it's really quite the unbelievable story. Trump VP contender Kristi Noem writes of killing dog and goat in new book. South Dakota governor includes bloody tale in a campaign volume and admits a better politician wouldn't tell the story here. Well, yes, that much is true. Yes, a politician does not volunteer that they shot a dog. I mean, what do they do? The 2 things that are sacred on the campaign trail: puppies and babies. Those are the 2 things. You got to kiss the babies. You got to pet the puppies. You don't volunteer in a campaign book going into an election year where you're the favorite to be the vice presidential pick that you shot your dog. And listen to this story. In 1952, as a Republican candidate for vice president, Richard Nixon stirred criticism by admitting receiving a dog, Checkers, as a political gift. In 2012, as the Republican presidential nominee, Mitt Romney was pilloried for tying a dog, Seamus, to the roof of the family car for a cross-country trip. You remember that? I remember that.
Oh, I remember that very well, and I still don't get How do you choose to do something like that? Like, who would think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
What
You're
kind
the
of
Romneys.
person does that?
You're worth money is no object. You don't have a vehicle big enough to fit your family.
You could get a trailer for your fucking dog.
I know Mormons have big families, but still, you got all the money in the world. You can't find a vehicle big enough to fit the family and the dog?
But that's just not even an option. The dog sits on the kid's lap. I mean, whatever. You don't put it on the fucking roof. Who does something like that? Like, to me, that goes to character. You are not qualified for leadership at that point.
Yeah, I would say that definitely speaks to character. No doubt about that. But in 2024, Kristi Noem, a strong contender to be named running mate to Donald Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee, has managed to go one further by admitting killing a dog of her own. Cricket was a wire hair pointer, about 14 months old. So it was basically a puppy. I mean, it's probably technically full grown, but until a dog's 2 or 3, they have the personality of a puppy. They got the energy of a puppy. Like, mentally, psychologically, you're going to see a lot of puppy behavior for a dog that's only a year old. The South Dakota governor writes in a new book, adding that the dog, a female, had an aggressive personality and needed to be trained to be used for hunting pheasants. Okay. Why? Why did it need to be trained for hunting pheasants? What is this? Little House on the Prairie? What is this? 1813 and you're in North Dakota? Like, you need the dog to hunt pheasant?
Yeah.
I don't buy that. What unfolds over the next few pages shows how that effort went very wrong indeed. And remarkably, how Cricket was not the only domestic animal Noem chose to kill one day in hunting season. Noem's book, No Going Back, The Truth on What's Wrong with Politics and How We Move America Forward, it's just so unbelievable that you would print this, will be published in the U.S. next month. The Guardian obtained a copy. She includes her story about the ill-fated Cricket, she says, to illustrate her willingness in politics as well as in South Dakota life to do anything difficult, messy, and ugly if it simply needs to be done. By taking Cricket on a pheasant hunt with older dogs, Noem says she hoped to calm the young dog down and begin to teach her how to behave. Unfortunately, Cricket ruined the hunt, going out of her mind with excitement, chasing all those birds and having the time of her life. In other words, it's a fucking puppy.
Yeah.
It's a young dog. Noem describes calling Cricket, then using an electronic collar to attempt to bring her under control. Nothing worked. Then, on the way home after the hunt, Noem stopped to talk to a local family. Cricket escaped Noem's truck and attacked the family's chickens, grabbing one chicken at a time, crunching it to death with one bite, then dropping it to attack another. Cricket, the untrainable dog, Noem writes, behaved like a trained assassin.
I thought that's what you wanted.
Yeah, I thought that's what you wanted, right? You wanted a trained assassin. You wanted a pheasant hunter. Instead, it was untrained. It was a random, just maniac. In other words, a puppy in South Dakota, right?
Yes.
When Noem finally grabbed Cricket, she says, the dog whipped around to bite me. Then, as the chicken's owner wept, Noem repeatedly apologized, wrote the shocked family a check for the price they asked, and helped them dispose of the carcasses littering the scene of the crime. Through it all, Noem says, Cricket was the picture of pure joy. Once again, it's a puppy. It does not understand what it's doing. It's not an evil dog. It's a puppy. It's out of control. I hated that dog, Noem writes. Adding that Cricket, again, folks, this is a book that she published. She volunteered this information in a campaign book.
Wow.
When she's the favorite, she knows she's one of the favorites. She's definitely on the short list for vice president of the United States. She volunteers this in a campaign book. This is the kind of shit that drops in the 11th hour. This is Oppo research that you have to then bullshit and try and clean up. Well, it was sick. It was, it was in pain, and the vet is 3 hours away because we live in the middle of fucking nowhere, South Dakota. So the more humane thing to do was to put it down ourselves. Like, that's the damage control. You don't volunteer this. I hated that dog, Noem writes, adding that Cricket had proved herself untrainable, dangerous to anyone she came in contact with, and less than worthless as a hunting dog. At that moment, Noem says, I realized I had to put her down. Noem, who also represented her state in Congress for 8 years, got her gun, then led Cricket to a gravel pit. It was not a pleasant job, she writes, but it had to be done. And after it was over, I realized another unpleasant job needed to be done. Incredibly, Noam's tale of slaughter is not finished. Her family, she writes, also owned a male goat that was nasty and mean because it had not... Russell fell off the chair.
I should have looked this over before this.
Oh, you didn't know this going in?
No.
No. She also owned a male goat.
She just decided to clean the house.
Goes on a murder spree throughout the farm. Yeah. Her family...
Today I settle all family business.
Yeah. Also owned a male goat that was nasty and mean because it had not been castrated. Furthermore, the goat smelled disgusting, musky, rancid, and loved to chase Noam's children, knocking them down and ruining their clothes. Noam decided to kill the unnamed goat the same way she had just killed Cricket the dog. But though she dragged him to a gravel pit, the goat jumped as she shot and therefore survived the wound. Noam says she went back to her truck, received another shell, and then hurried back to the gravel pit to put him down. It goes on. I'm going to spare you the details because it goes on to get even darker. I don't want to get
kidding
too...
me.
Yeah, no. I mean,
does she kill other animals in the story?
That's it. But it's... No, she talks about... Okay, so she talks about her kids coming home and asking, where's the dog? Like, it gets really sad and terrible. Like, I don't even want to read that. Like, it gets really terrible, you know? Because the kids like the dog. It was a fun-loving dog. It's a puppy. It doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
It's a fucking puppy.
Right.
Yeah. It was a beloved dog. It just was not good at a hunt. You have to train a puppy if they're hard.
Right.
They got a lot of... My dog was a pain in the ass to train. She's a hound dog. Yeah. I mean, that is just unbelievable. That is truly fucking unbelievable.
What a fucking sick bitch. I mean, this tells you some of the fucking maniacs you have in politics.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do the hard thing. Yeah, I trust this woman a heartbeat away from the fucking nuclear codes.
Yeah, what this says is you're not qualified to own animals. That's what this says. That you're really terrible at owning animals, right? I want to post this because Greenwald is not only a great political mind, but he runs a dog sanctuary. So this is obviously an issue near and dear to his heart. He says, and now you have the pathetic attention whores who have never once shown any bravery or moral courage, thinking it finally makes them tough to say how aroused they are by the shooting of puppies. So here's Noam herself boasts, am I being too politically incorrect for you? Weak, broken people. So this was in response to Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire. Unpopular opinion, this story makes me like and respect her more.
Oh,
wow.
Boy. Oh, wow.
So then you have Greenwald digging in against the Daily Wire guys. Kristi Noem is a successful politician. She understood what she was doing when writing this. Abusing animals is a common way for weak people to feel strength. It's how all sociopaths start. She knew it appealed to a certain type of weak and broken male. See, we have a theme, a running theme on the show today,
we
folks.
do. We do.
Yeah, indeed. And he's absolutely right. And then somebody gives him shit about this.
Wait until we get to the Rumble side. We have a great story for some of those guys.
Yes, a real doozy. Somebody gives him shit about this, whoever this guy is, Zeitgeist. Everyone who's had land and or a farm and kept animals will tell you they've had to put one down eventually. It's the way she's callous about it that is just extremely weird. He says, no, it's not the case that people on farms go around regularly murdering puppies and family dogs. It's one thing to euthanize a suffering old or sick dog, or any other animal. That's humane. Noam slaughtered the puppy out of hatred, which is what she says. Yeah. Wow. That is quite the story. That is really, I mean, look, if there's a take or a theory, if there's a hot take or a not a conspiracy theory, but a hidden angle to this, maybe she got cold feet about being the VP and she wanted to disqualify herself so Trump wouldn't pick her. She put that out. I don't know.
4D chess.
4D chess. I mean, the easier thing to do is just call Donald and say, look, I'm not up to it.
No, I
Imagine
think
Trump out on the campaign trail after this comes out. Imagine he already picked her and this came out in the fall. He'd have to go out and try and clean it up. I mean, the dog, it was crazy. It was a crazy. No one ever seen a dog like that. It was nuts. It was insane.
It was a crazy dog. It tried to have sex with the chickens. Actually, she left that part out. She was gonna put it in. I said, Christy, you can't put that in. There's a book. Children may read this book.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, just what a fucking sicko. And yeah, sure, it is a part of farm life. A horse breaks a leg, but that's not the case here.
Right.
This is just you don't like the dog's temperament. Now, somebody who's a real rural country person would make it their business to train that dog.
Right.
Kill
Exactly.
It. That you want to show you're a real fucking competent farm kind of
a real frontier American.
Real frontier American would train that dog.
And, yeah, exactly. They take that dog under their wing. Right. Exactly. Or worse comes to worse, it's a lemon of a dog. It doesn't hunt, so it sits around the house.
So what? Exactly.
So what? What? It's dead weight because it can't hunt pheasant in what? 2011? You need a dog that's going to hunt pheasant whenever the fuck this happened? Yeah. I mean, it's just wow. That is really something.
What a sicko. Yeah, no, I think Glenn's got it right. And yeah, that will appeal to a certain kind of person. Yeah. Look at these fucking dipshits who, you remember when I can't remember which election it was, but they were talking about healthcare and you had somebody yell, "Let them die."
Oh, yeah. Well, the Obamacare debates were dominated by a lot of that.
Let them die.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain kind of person who absorbs all of this propaganda because they're insecure about their manhood. That is the running theme. If you're really secure about your manhood, you don't need to run around talking that kind of shit of let people fucking die. Well, they didn't take responsibility for themselves, man. God, you have to be so beaten mentally to think that way. To let people convince you that shows that you're worthy, that you just have this absolutely just total lack of compassion. Everybody's got to be responsible for themselves. Well, you know what? You want to make that argument? Let's just not have Republicans, Democrats. Let's just run around with guns. Let's see how long you motherfuckers last. Right, with your fucking incel Camino fucking Cybertruck over there. See how long you last without a government to protect you.
No, I went to an Obamacare town hall. You know, this was back when I was a good young Democrat, right? It was like 2009 or whatever. That's when they were having these town halls where, you know, a lot of towns and cities would have these meetings where you could come argue the case. And there's this one woman talking about how her kid had cancer and he beat it a couple times, but it kept coming back and back. And she had to, every time it came back, it would be a new battle with insurance companies to cover it and pay for this and that. This one fucking guy, good Christian man, comes up and says, you know, maybe God was trying to tell you something because her kid got cancer over and over again. Like, that's the kind of just broken person that would say something like that.
Right. I mean, that's where, in a way, like, I get, you know, I'm not, you know, people like, well, you got Elon derangement syndrome. I'm not really mad at Elon. Elon is a product of the system we have.
Right.
Like, I get more angry at people who, look, man, there's everything in it for Elon to be Elon, but there's nothing in it for you to worship Elon. I get more mad at that because that is not even rational. And it's a result of people being profoundly broken in their spirits and their souls. They have such low self-esteem that they would elevate this fucking, you know, just volatile billionaire cretin who's just, what, a little better on a couple of things than Jeff Bezos, so you worship him? It's fucking, it's sad, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. Jack, for once, I'm happy Ticketmaster gets that money. Yes, indeed, for the pod save, guys. Thank you. Sparky, forgive me for being off topic. I missed the school trade topic live. No, that's okay. Thank you, Sparky. Appreciate it. Get a real job. Keaton says monkeys, Pootum. Thank you for the 10 pounds. Appreciate that. Awesome to hear. It's now your full-time job. Yes, this is our full-time gig, both of us now. I think that's thanks to you guys. So we appreciate you all very much. That's why we need those members to keep us at this full time. Let's have a cowbell for Mike. Cowbell sound effect anyway.
Oh, snap.
Thank you, Mike. That's a very generous donation. Thank you for the $50. Appreciate that. Saw a clip of Sheridan interviewing Jen Perlman on running in the Dem Party rather than Indy. He mentioned the Jimmy Dorification of the left and that it might be dissipating, but we all know he's right-wing. Can't find the logic in that. Yeah, no, I don't understand the logic in that either.
Listen, man. You want to talk about cucks. Just for your own fucking dignity, shut the fuck up about Jimmy Dore. What's wrong with you, man? Like, it's over, man. It's like a guy who's still fucking talking about his ex-girlfriend 5 fucking years later. Shut up. You're obviously still hung up on the person. If you weren't, you wouldn't keep talking about them. Just do your thing.
Yeah. And, look, Jen is running as a Democrat. I told her the first time I ever talked to her that I don't think she should run again as a Democrat. I don't think she's grifting. I don't think she's doing it for any dishonest reason. She's a Jewish woman in South Florida running an anti-Zionist campaign against a very popular, in that area, Jewish politician. You don't do that because you're grifting. You do that because you mean it. So I respect that, but I don't think running a Democratic primary is the right thing. I told you that the first time I ever met her. So I've been exactly the same as I've always been on that. I mean, it has nothing to do with being right wing. It has everything to do with when we were out canvassing for Jose Vega. We talked about this in the segment. It is so freeing. You open up so many more conversations with people when you tell them you're an independent than when you tell them you're a Democrat.
Yes,
it is so much easier to get them to sign the paper when you tell them you're an independent. Like, it is worlds easier. Easier. Now, you say, well, the party's rigged against the system's rigged against third parties. It's rigged against people like Jim Perlman, too. And at least when you run a campaign like Jose's, you're broadening the range of people who you can appeal to on the streets. You don't need Democrat signatures, right? Exactly. You don't need to deal with Democrat partisans, right? You could talk to fucking anybody, right? Anybody could vote for you. Anybody could sign your shit, right? And so that just... It is good for the movement to be able to talk to all people. And when you're running in a Democratic primary, structurally, it is much more difficult to do that because you need the votes of registered Democrats. So, yeah, you can talk to independents, but they're not going to help you get through the primary. And that's very limiting. It's extremely limiting. And so that's my case for it. I've made it a million times.
When you run inside the Democratic Party, you're not expanding a base of opposition to the establishment Democrats. What you're doing is growing the Democratic Party. Right. You're just sheepdogging more people into a party that, as we experienced, they control that shit and they are never letting you take it. They're never letting you take it. That's theirs. That's their house. They own it. They have the deed. They have the title. You never get in control of that house. The only chance you have is to build your own. Doing anything inside of it, you're just helping them build another wing. That's all you're doing running in the Democratic Party.
Yep. Sparky, thanks for the $10. During post-World War II austerity in the UK, people were expected to also have a practical trade or skill like welding to fall back on if they went to university. I'm not sure when they quit doing that.
Interesting.
Just Heather, I was going to buy a cheap bottle of wine, but figured giving it to you is a more responsible move. Well, I don't know about that. That's neck and neck. I would say those are pretty close. But thank you.
Why choose?
Thank you for doing what you do. Yes, why choose? Why choose? Thank you, Just Heather. Appreciate that very much. Elon is the public face of high functioning autism, says Shalashay 123. Driving on I-75 back to California, radio stations were all Bible-pushing hacks finally got NPR. After 5 minutes, went back to the hacks. Yeah, I don't believe it. At least the hacks have some sort of talent, right? They can hold your attention. I wish I could come. Can you come to Melbourne? Oh, wow. That's a trip. That's a ways away. That would take some budget. But it would be fun.
That would take quite a fundraiser for that.
Indeed. Okay. Let's see here. A lot of the reporters, a lot of problem with reporters today is that they come from elite journalism schools and defer to access and authority. Yes, no more working class reporters throwing darts at current president in the newsroom. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's
absolutely right.
I mean, it sounds like you probably read Hate Inc. If you haven't,
Yeah, that's
read
a
it.
lot of what that's about. Yeah.
That's what that's all about, how being a reporter, and you can see it if you look at how reporters are represented in old movies. They're like these rough characters who go and drink hard liquor at the bar after a day in the bullpen, right? Yeah, what are you doing, Charlie? Yeah, I'm going down to the bar after work, right? That's how they used to portray reporters, because that tend to be, a lot of them worked their way up from the mailroom or from the press room. There were it was like a working class job. It was something for people who want to be a pain in the ass and bother politicians and do muckraking. And now it became another one of the professions.
Right. SB, Jackson isn't a grifter. Where's the money? And being pro-Palestine, EFF, communist, Orthodox Christian. Yeah. Yeah, well, like I said, he's been deplatformed, demonetized, debanked. I think he's off of PayPal. I don't even think he get paid by PayPal. I mean, he gets thrown off of everything. I mean,
you look, smart, good-looking guy like that. Oh, if he went the Pod Save America route, he'd be knee deep in Armani's.
Yeah, he'd be crushing it, indeed. Okay, let's go. We got some Rumble rants as well. We're going to get to everybody, don't worry, but we are going to switch to Rumble a little bit of the way through, so we'll catch all the Rumble rants over there. Hinkle has millions of views on X about the genocide. Who gives a flying F what he's done otherwise? Thank you, Abiding. Yes, I agree. Roadmap to Apartheid, a doc anybody commenting on Palestine should watch. Thank you, Old Stoner. Appreciate that. Bloated Scrotum, proud to be a supporter under a different name. Yeah, that's probably a good call. I just do these small posts to help with the $42 Dunkin' Donut outrages. Thank you. Every little bit helps, Bloated Scrotum.
Fuckers.
Appreciate that.
I posted a meme today that was a McDonald's thing that said, with our prices now, you can get real food. And it's true. Like, in New York, and I think pretty much anywhere else, like the cost of real restaurant food did not go up at the pace that fast food did.
No, not even close.
So actually now you can get real food literally for about the price it would cost you to get a McDonald's meal.
Absolutely.
So why would you eat that shit?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I'm so excited about the NYC show, says Ellen Jimerson. Yes, she's coming from Alabama. Big Al is too, in his own way. And my niece and nephew are coming in from D.C. Who else is coming? Wow, beautiful. All right, going to have a party there. Beautiful. Ellen's coming, I think, to 2 o'clock. That's awesome. Thank you, Ellen. Nothing like some self-hating Jewish anti-Semitic bedtime stories for a good night's sleep. Thanks and good night. Thank you, Bonzo Beans. Appreciate that. I know a few nasty goats that need to be taken out to the ground. Yeah. What a fucking whack job.
That should be our new metaphor, that we can clear past YouTube censor.
Yeah, exactly.
We should take this one down to the gravel pits.
Down to the gravel pits, yeah. I paid $130, says Christos, to see Tim Dillon. I'll double that to see the dudes. Oh, that's flattering. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Meme Boy says, love you, boys. Please help how to argue Elon is not a brilliant because he has 3 or 4 businesses. Merci. Well, we're doing it. They just share these clips. We've done some on the Jimmy Show, too. I don't know if you caught our Elon stuff there. You know, now we have a reputation for these anti-Elon guys, which we don't have a hard-on for Elon. We said he have the platform than Dorsey, but, you ban Nelson Mandela. You're an apartheid baby. You ban Nelson Mandela's grandson?
Listen, these are the things that I'm honing in on there. One, the idea that putting speech in the hand, and we said this from the beginning, even before it became evident how arbitrary his exercise of free speech principles was going to be. It is not a healthy system that puts you in a position where you have to put the battle for free speech in the hands of a volatile billionaire. That is not a healthy system. That is really a throwback to aristocracy. It is you pick which lord you align with in the fight between the aristocrats, right? So it's Lord Musk versus Lord Dorsey, and there is something that is very much a serf mentality in seeing the world in those terms. Oh, I'm Lord Musk's man. I've always been a Lord Musk man. What are you? You're a fucking serf when you think like that. So that's one side of it. And the other side of it is, yeah, man, when I see working people who think that little of themselves that they're going to fucking bow down to a guy like that, it hurts me, man, because I come from the working class, and I don't like seeing working people degrade themselves like that.
Yeah, indeed. All right, folks, let's move on here. Bill Maher really outdid himself on Friday. Now, I knew this was going to be a panel from hell and a show from hell because he had RFK, Don Lemon, and Scott Galloway. Those were his guests. So that kind of tells you what you're in for. Now, this we're going to hone in on the monologue, the new rule, the big editorial. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but we're going to watch more than probably many of you guys can handle. Here he is chiming in on the student protests at college campuses and in the streets.
And finally, new rule. Someone needs to tell the people who block traffic in the name of a cause, no one likes you. And you're probably hurting your cause. In case you haven't seen what's going on lately, activists for ending the war in Gaza have taken to gathering on roads and bridges and stopping commuters from crossing. It happened last week in New York and San Francisco, Chicago, Seattle. They also blocked traffic here on the 405, but no one noticed. What they did notice was this, that you have to be pretty dumb to think that the way to bring people around to your point of view is to make them late to pick up their kids from daycare.
Kind of an insulting thing to say given the long history of disruptive protests. I don't know. What's an example of a protester blocking a bridge, right?
I can't think of it.
Bridge.
I can't think of it.
What is that? I don't remember. I'm blanking on the name. Was it Martin Luther King? Was it Martin Luther King? Civil rights movement? Yeah. I think so. Dumb? Dumb. Real dumb. Great statement that is.
Hang on. Well, let's see. I think I have some evidence here.
Oh, wow.
Continue to move means that we are making progress.
You can hear that,
we
right?
have touched the conscience of a large segment of our nation.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Dumb.
There you go. Look at these dumb people.
Yeah.
Look at these dumb people making people angry.
Yeah.
This would never accomplish anything.
Just extraordinary.
How dare they? How dare they?
It gets a lot worse. Here we go.
And that's what most normies are thinking. I have a kid. I have a job. And yes, I'm sure there are injustices on both sides in the Middle East, as there are injustices all
There
over
is
the
a
world.
section set aside at that lunch counter for your people.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
I got to get places.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Well, it gets worse. It gets way worse. This is the least offensive part of it.
Protesters on the bridge seem to have the luxury of not having to worry about, which seems kind of privilegey.
Oh, because they don't have jobs? Oh, look at this guy. Oh, he agrees.
You can glue your hands to the street because your hands don't have to do any work today. I'm not saying there aren't sincere passions about
Look
Gaza,
at these rich
especially
cunts.
among people
These
from
rich
the region,
cunts
but
playing working
social
class
justice
fucking hero.
warriors, for a lot of them, it seems like it's more about the warrioring than about whatever the cause is. If you really cared about apartheid so much, which Israel does not actually practice, Arabs there vote, they serve in parliament, they sit on the judiciary, wouldn't you start with this? With the hundreds of millions of women in the world who live under a true apartheid?
Okay.
Well, they live, unlike the women in Gaza.
Yeah, that's true. They live, period, you could say. What did I say, folks? It's like time folded in on itself. What was the first monologue this piece of shit did after October 7th, after we knew there was going to be a genocide? This, Clash of Civilizations. Well, queers for Palestine. That's like blacks for the KKK. Ha, 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 ha. It's the first monologue he did. And now, 7 months later, same thing again. But it gets even worse, much worse, still.
A gender apartheid of the most brutal kind. I'll wait.
Had to do the please clap. Had to do the old please clap line because even your audience might be like, I don't know if this plays still, right? Here, let's see this one more time.
I don't know if we should really be getting involved in other people's cultures in quite that way.
Yeah. Let's hear this joke fall absolutely flat.
Live under a true apartheid, a gender apartheid of the most brutal kind. I'll wait.
You guys are getting paid to be here. Remember, you're supposed to clap.
Well, and also all of this is so fucking historically illiterate. That is not the traditional garb of the people of these Muslim countries. That is the garb of religious extremists who took over these countries because we whacked their leaders when they tried to establish democracies. That's how we got that. They're like that because we wanted that. That would have been very small sects within Islam, but we empowered them because we did not want them to seize their own resources.
Yes, indeed. Here we go. Gets much worse, much worse.
Are you really speaking truth to power, or do you just think you look cool in a keffiyeh? Which is really just the new Che Guevara t-shirt. Another historical figure you never researched and so think is a hero, but was actually a sadistic, racist monster fighting for communism, the worst form of government ever. But these are small matters.
Go ahead, yeah, really.
When
you can really see the true colors of a guy come out. All these decades, Bill Maher kind of cosplayed as like this, social democrat. He never called himself a communist, but he certainly presented himself as quite far left of the mainstream.
Yeah. Sanders supporter.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Much worse. Gets much worse.
Small matters when activism merges with narcissism. Less about the cause and more about me. Look at me. Watch me. And if you like the way I'm fighting injustice, remember to like and subscribe.
Okay.
Where the fuck do you get the balls?
I took that personally, my friend. I took that personally. I told you it gets worse. It's the worst thing he's ever said. No, I'm kidding. Well, but yeah.
Okay. These kids, to avoid being doxxed, are often wearing COVID masks, as we've discussed. They're not actually wearing them because they're COVIDians. They're wearing them to avoid getting doxxed. So how is this an act of narcissism when they're trying not to be seen doing it?
They're hiding their identity so they don't lose their jobs. They're not doing this for money.
Yes.
Their jobs are being threatened. Their job letters are being rescinded. That's why they're hiding their face, so that they don't get seen by the law firm or whatever, and they get a letter in the mail saying you got to start from square one. Exactly. So how is it narcissism?
When I think of narcissism,
you can accuse us of narcissism. That's fair game. We are narcissists. But we're doing this because we're narcissists. That's fair. But these kids are not narcissists. Yeah.
When I think of narcissism, I think of a guy who's got probably hundreds of millions of dollars talking about how things aren't so bad in the country. And then when confronted on it says, well, I don't go to Skid Row.
Right. A guy who gets his
sounds
ass,
like a narcissist.
A guy who gets his ass handed to him on Class Politics by Marianne Williamson, of all people. Yeah.
By Marianne, exactly. You lost a class debate to Marianne Williamson.
Exactly. All right. There's more. The worst is yet to come. Although this I take personally, but the worst is yet to come.
In February, a sad, confused man even lit himself on fire in front of the Israeli embassy, and in his last Facebook post, he said, "Many of us like to ask ourselves, what would I do if I was alive during slavery?" Interesting cocktail question, sir, and I guess the right answer is kill myself. But it wouldn't have actually fixed the problem if General Ulysses S. Grant had immolated himself and his last words were, "Hey, Lincoln, are you using that log?"
Real funny. Real fucking funny. You see what I mean? How
funny shit.
This is a new low? Real fucking hilarious.
It is a new low, and you can see his audience is like, are there any cameras on me?
Yeah.
Am I going to have to answer for being here today?
They're taking their masks out and putting it on so no one sees them if the camera cuts to the audience. Wow.
What a fucking miserable piece of shit. This has got to be the bottom for Bill Maher. I mean, I hesitate to say it because who knows what new lows, but this is probably a low for him in his career. This is just fucking incredible. And it goes back to what we said. He shut up for a couple weeks when the word went out that they weren't to do this. It doesn't surprise me that after whatever deal they worked out with Iran went down, allegedly, all of a sudden he came back with a monologue like this. All of a sudden he feels empowered to push it this far because the powers that be want people pushing this kind of propaganda. And God, I can't imagine why the people representing him hated him so fucking much that they didn't invite him to the Oscar party so that they could be rid of him.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You call Aaron Bushnell a sad, confused man, which I don't think he was a sad, confused man. I think it was a radical act of protest, not one that I condone because we need people like Aaron Bushnell here fighting the good fight. We don't need them doing that, right? So it's not an act that I condone because I wish he were still here, right? But he was not a sad and confused man.
Right.
That's my opinion. Now,
we need people like that. We need veterans to go out there at these protests.
In the streets, right? We need them alive, obviously, right? But if you're Bill Maher, you said into the camera, he's a sad and confused man who killed himself, right? Because he was sad and confused. You then proceed to crack 2 jokes about it? Like, assuming he's this sad and confused man who committed suicide, you think that's fucking funny? You fucking make fun of him and liken it to Ulysses S. Grant. And I don't want to go here because I believe in free speech. I'm not for censorship. But this clip is up on YouTube. If any of us mocked a suicide victim, that video will be taken down. Guaranteed. No doubt in my mind. This scumbag gets to go on HBO, on TV, and denigrate and mock a man who he considers a sad and confused suicide victim. Where are the censors on that? Now, if I were a hypocrite, I would create a campaign. I would tag Team YouTube, hey, why is this video allowed? I'm not going to do that because I believe in his right to be a total fucking douchebag, and I believe in our right to call him a total fucking douchebag. So we're not going to do that. But we could if we wanted to. Again, the censors never come for these people. Never.
No, and they never will. They never will. It's a big club. We ain't in it.
Yep. All right, it's almost over. We're going to play 1 more minute of this.
And this fucking douchebag.
Yeah, look at it. They're real funny. Really, they're still laughing.
They're all laughing it up. They're all laughing it up. These fucking 3 rich fucking scumbags about a guy who killed himself. As you point out, even if you thought he's a sad, confused guy, why are you laughing about this? What does that say about you?
Right, exactly.
And then last week, another sad, confused man set himself on fire at the Trump trial in New York. So you can tell yourself you're a martyr for the Palestinian cause, but it's a lot less special when the next guy does it for Stormy Daniels.
That is just not true. The guy didn't do it for Stormy Daniels. That guy seemed genuinely a bit disturbed, right? And his reason for doing what he did was very vague. Nobody could really tell. He didn't do it for Stormy Daniels. And again, by conflating those two, you're making Aaron Bushnell's act of protest and sacrifice equivalent to this, which you're making fun of here. All right, we're almost done.
I don't want to diminish how sad it is that someone would take their own life for any reason, but...
Oh, but you just did. You just did twice in a row. You just made 2 jokes about it in a row.
Right.
And gave the audience a chance to laugh and clap.
You're absolutely right. If we did it, forget it. If fucking Jimmy did it, they'd pull that video.
That's bullying. You're not allowed to make fun of someone who killed themselves. You're not allowed to do that on YouTube. I know the rules inside. I study this. This is how I make a living now. It's my job to know this. Okay? I know that if we did that, we would get pulled. This fucking scumbag comes up there and cracks repeated jokes about a guy who he said is a sad, confused man. Nothing. Just sickening.
Maybe from now on, before anyone commits an act of civil disobedience, they should ask themselves a few questions, like, is the most important thing in my life something I hadn't heard of 6 months ago? Do I even know?
Again, waiting for an applause because it's not funny and it's fucking stupid. what if the answer is yes? Like, what if the answer is yes, we found out that this was the most important issue of our time 6 months ago, and we're acting accordingly. There are people in this space who've been on this beat a lot longer than we have. RBN's been on this beat much longer. Gray Zone's been on this beat much longer. I'm a little embarrassed, frankly, that I wasn't on it sooner. So what do? We try and make up for that by being on it now. That's what these kids are doing. And they know a lot more about it than you fucking douchebags. We might cover more of this on the Jimmy Dore show tomorrow. But on the panel, they're talking about, oh, well, the kids are out there doing this because it's a fad, it's in style. They don't really know what they're talking about. I would love to ask any of you, have you heard about the mass grave where hundreds of people were found, including children, with their arms tied behind their back? Have you heard about that? You probably haven't heard about that because you don't follow this very closely because you don't care.
This is the second time. It's the second time people have been found with their hands tied behind their back in a mass grave outside a hospital.
Yeah.
Al-Shifa, they found people with their hands tied behind their back.
Yeah. They probably haven't heard about it. They probably haven't heard about it because they don't care much about it. So maybe keep your fucking stupid, fucking ignorant mouth shut instead of smearing these kids who know about it, a lot more than you do. And unlike you, they're trying to do something about it. They're not cracking jokes at people who lit themselves on fire because they were so tortured by what's going on.
No,
what an unbelievable...
these people are the fucking scum of the earth, and I don't know where this fucking Scott Galloway fucking piece of shit came from. I never saw this guy before.
Yeah,
like a week ago. All of a sudden, he sprouted like a fucking mushroom from a turd, and that fucking bald turd head of his is fucking everywhere. Why? Why all of a sudden is that fucking piece of garbage everywhere?
Yeah.
Who is this guy? What? He's an NYU professor?
Yeah. Yep. Just reprehensible. Utterly reprehensible.
This is one thing I'm really looking forward to going back to New York for, man. Me and my man Jose, we're going to have to track where these people are speaking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna introduce myself within the bounds of the law.
Yes, non-violently, of course. Jose's a candidate for office. JC the third, thanks for the $5. Any guy who puts his dog on top of a car and drives around is also probably wetting the bed and starting fires. Avoid this guy. Thanks, JC. Sparky, pheasant hunting is a huge tourist thing in the Dakota Territory. People like friend of the show, Dick Cheney, travel there with money to spend. Yes, thank you, Sparky. Noam was teaching her children to watch out for mom. Yeah. Wow, that is some story. People hating on Jackson are angry he's doing more for communism in 2 years than Western communists have done in 50. Go to working class, not shit libs. Thank you, SB. Okay. Jackson. Wait, have you guys been watching the show? You've been fighting about Jackson Hinkle the whole night. Are we here for nothing? Yeah. Should we just play music and you guys can fight about Jackson? Is anybody paying attention? All these chats are about Jackson Hinkle. We haven't said a word about Jackson Hinkle. I don't know anything about Jackson Hinkle.
We never even heard of Jackson.
We never even heard of him. We don't know who he is.
That?
We don't know anything about him. Stop giving us money about Jackson. What are we supposed to say about Jackson Hinkle? Yeah.
Wasn't he in he was in Richard Pryor's last movie. Is that who you're talking about? Yeah. Jackson Hinkle?
Jackson is just appealing to sad groiper fail sons. All right.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what that is either. Thanks for Haas, too. He taught Jackson Hinkle. Look at this. All about Jackson Hinkle. All right. Thank you. Thank you for the donation.
I mean, you want to give us money to fucking talk about a guy we don't have any particular opinions about. Go for it.
Whatever. We can't stop you. Dad had a pet goat in the early 1930s, which took it upon himself to protect the family's chickens. It would charge and ram and corner their neighbor who'd occasionally try to steal a chicken. Sparky, you got family stories for everything. You're going to lead an interesting life there.
Wow.
Eric Rousseau, is someone disrupting Pod Save America live show? Too expensive. Too expensive.
No, we're not paying for that.
No, too expensive.
And not only that, I mean, they're not significant enough.
Yeah, right.
To disrupt their show.
What are they? Yeah, whatever.
Like, who are they? Why would you disrupt their show?
Right. No one even knows who they are.
But I am going to go interview the people going into the show. I did mark that date on my calendar because I'm honestly curious. Like, that's not like $20. Like, that's significant money. Like, who are these people? I must know. I must talk to them.
Yeah. No, indeed. Sparky, Christy ain't right. She doesn't have the not so uncommon good with animals gene. She's also sick. Pay for the chickens and keep the dog as a pet. There you go. In my experience, being good with animals is a sign of good leadership ability. Yes, I agree. I agree with that. Jewel in the Empire. I grew up in a South Dakota town called Elk Point. Our mascot was a pointer dog like Noam killed. I understand farm life, yada, 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 but she did not have to murder her puppy. So psycho.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Obviously. It's crazy. Elon is an advocate for free speech only as far as it fits his personal agenda. Yes, thank you, Sparky. Boom.
Boom. You got it. Right on the head.
Yeah. Okay. Join Psy. Thank you for the $2. China Shill. I guess Maher thinks Nazism is better than communism. Yeah, well, what do they say? Scratch a liberal, a fascist bleeds, right? Okay, let's get out the what's it called? Cowbell for this donation, 100 Canadian dollars. Thank you, Wasim Gurani. Appreciate that very much. Funny how Palestinian women are involved in politics, well-educated, and are involved in media, yet the pick from Afghanistan or Wahhabism version of Islam, which is mostly in the U.S. puppet Gulf countries, support that. Yes, signatories of the Abraham Accords.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I haven't seen any women in Palestine dressed like that.
No. In fact, just the opposite. Like in general, they're much more. They dress like us.
Right.
They dress nicer than us.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a very extreme sect of Islam that has that, and it's one that we empowered.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for that donation, Wasim. That's very kind of you.
Thank you.
Bill Maher is a Liz Cheney Democrat. Indeed. Thank you. Golnara Marchesi, thanks for the $5 super sticker. Appreciate that very much. Let's see here. Maher, baby boomer, born same year as myself, 1956, graduated high school in 1974. Both of us missed the draft and Vietnam War by a whisker, thanks to those same who protested and caused civil disobedience. Thank you, Pete Sweet. Appreciate that. Brent Yoendo, Maher is too punchable. His attitude, his face, his condescending tone, it's cartoonish. By the way, for those looking to support Gazans directly, look into E. Sims. Thank you. Leprechaun Alley, thanks for the $19.99. Especially when the kid he denigrated could be his grandson. I don't remember old people being this tasteless. He's just at a bitchy. He just ate a
He's
bitchy.
just a bitchy nanny
He's
goat.
just a bitchy nanny goat. Thank you, Leprechaun Alley. That's very kind of you. Appreciate that. I ashamed to admit that 20 years ago I believed in Maher. A lot of us did. A lot of us used to like Bill Maher. Indeed. Well, because he used to be like against the Iraq War, against George Bush, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
When we were libs. That's going to be the name of our book.
When we were libs.
When we were libs.
Exactly. Indeed. Back from the road, thanks to the $4.99. Who actually watches Bill Maher? His numbers are probably less than Alex Jones's Rumble. I don't know who watches it.
I mean, last I heard, he was like the highest rated cable talk show.
Huh.
I think. But not that there's a lot of those, but it's not
Right.
like there's a lot of competition for that title. Basically means he does better than John Oliver.
Right. Yeah, exactly. En passant, see the chess move, 85. Thanks for the $5. I have 2 beagles, neither hunt. I've managed not to shoot either of them yet. Congratulations. Good job.
Give it time.
Name My Taco, most depraved audience and host. Thank you, Name My Taco. Appreciate
Damn right.
that.
We like it that way.
We like it that way, indeed. Folks, we're going to be switching over to Rumble pretty soon, so get ready to switch over there. DoDissidents.com/Rumble for the remainder of tonight's show, plus the question and answer. The country boy threat. Since half the Democrats' base have been alienated, Trump should run away with this. He should stay far away from the Israel Love Club as possible. Thanks, country boy threats. Tumaj Salehi's normal music video with English subtitles. Had to watch it at 75 speed to read it. His other work is good too. Check it out. Thank you.
Is this the guy who was sentenced to death in Iran?
Is that him? Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think it might be.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and check that. We all know these anti-Elon segments are designed to pump up Russell's Ford stock. We know how you capitalists work. Just kidding.
Yeah, man. We the influence we have on the market.
Yeah.
No, I did a negative story about Ford. I've said this. I don't know anyone who has a Ford who doesn't have problems.
Yeah.
I've never known a Ford owner who didn't have shit they had to bring it to the dealer to have it fixed. And actually, look, I do think, I mean, if we're going to digress into just business for a second, I do think Tesla is going to lose its market share or continue to lose its market share in the EV market. But I was just reading an interesting article about how they're way ahead on battery technology for your home and for neighborhoods. Like nobody else really has this. They have like a super pack that can power 1,000 houses. So some are suggesting they might pivot to that business. So, the end of their EV business might not be the end of Tesla. I just think their car business is never going to be what it was.
Got it. Jax Page, thank you for the $2. Words can't describe how much I hate Bill Maher. Trying to shill for your patience. Thank you for our patience entertaining the Jackson Hinkle stuff. Appreciate that, China Shill. All right, let's head over to Rumble, shall we? DoDissidents.com/Rumble. That takes you right to this live stream, thanks to our producer, Jake. So we want to thank Jake for making this. We got Rumble rants in the queue. Don't worry, we're going to get to the Rumble rants. We haven't forgotten you. We're going to do those while we're over on the Rumble side because we have a couple more segments to do over there before we start the Q&A. So, everybody, please head on over to Rumble. I'll give you the signal, callers, when it's good to call in because you got a couple more segments to do, and it just messes up our tech if you call in too early because we have a bunch of videos down here that we're looking at. So I'll give you the signal when it's cool to call in, but everybody, you are all welcome to come finish the show with us on Rumble. We had a huge crowd in here tonight. We had over 3,000 at one point between YouTube and Twitter. We got 2,400 strong filing in over on Rumble. We're going to continue the show there after a 5-minute intermission. So we're going to take a quick break to give you guys all a chance to get over there. But we will see you all over there in about 5 minutes. Enjoy the way over. Thanks, YouTubers. Come to Rumble for the rest of the show. Bye-bye.
Please clap.